How you doing? Welcome to the Sunday night chat. I'm Mike, and I'm in the robe. I'm totally phoning it in today. I don't care. It's been cold and rainy in Los Angeles for like 3 days now, something like that. I think it started Thursday, and it rained for Friday. I can't remember. Yeah, for Friday and Saturday rain. It's Sunday now. It's been pouring, slowed up a bit. We'll see how it goes. I looked at the weather. It's supposed to rain again tomorrow. It's killing me, man. It's killing me for work because I lost last week. I only got 2 days of working on that project. I had to go to the VA again, um, which is like a just going over what the doctor discovered a couple months ago that then sent me for the X-rays. So this is like the final review on the physical stuff. I think that went well. Interestingly, look at the watch. Interestingly, it was in the same location where I went for my ankle review when I first started this whole process, before I had an advocate and understood the doctors and how to talk to them and everything. And that did not go well. And I've now been to so many of these guys that are doing their jobs credibly, professionally, the way they're supposed to do it. I now know that that guy I first went to was terrible. He was, and it turned out that uh, well, I'll tell you how it went. I told you guys already. I went in there. He's sitting behind his desk. He's got my orders open, and he looks up, not my orders, my records, and he looks up from the computer. He goes, "Oh, they railroaded you. I could see it right here." And he's like, "Okay, so it's the ankle thing. I can see here, here, and here where you're injured." I said, "Well, do you have this date with boot camp? Because that was the big one with my left ankle." He goes, "Oh, let me look. Oh, yeah, I see it right there." And he says, "Well, you don't have anything to worry about because there's a clear record of you being injured, so you'll get this." And he asked me a couple brief questions, didn't delve into it, didn't try coaching me along or anything else. Like all the other doctors, they're not like necessarily coaching you, but they're asking you pertinent questions because they're seeing people come in with legitimate issues. And they're like for instance, a couple months ago, that doctor asked me about my neck. And she's like, "Well, do you have a specialty pillow that you use? Like something I bought," is how I interpreted that. I was like, "Well, no." And then I corrected myself within a few seconds, going, "I didn't buy anything, but I have this pillow that I set up that I have to do a certain way so I could sleep." And she's like, "Okay, that's what I meant." So that's good. But this first guy didn't do any of that. And we end up spending the majority of our time just talking about him and his life and his kids and how they're spending all of his money and everything. And he kept saying, "Yeah, you should look me up. I have an interesting life." And he had told me he'd done 12 years as a corpsman in the Navy. So he worked with Marines. When he got out, he became a brain surgeon. It turns out he's Mike Tyson's older brother. Okay. So I need my notes. So um, when I talked to this doctor this past week, I mentioned it. I was like, "Is that guy still here? Because I'd really like to talk to him. I'd like to talk to him again because he fucked me up, man." And this guy says, "Oh no," he's like, "I know him." He's like, he just only here for a few months," and he didn't allude as to why he's not there any longer. So I was like, okay, he's only there for a couple months, and he messed me up, and now I understand." And this guy told me, this new guy said, "Well, you can petition or send a letter or whatever and have that reassessed." So I will likely do that as well because I think it's important. At any rate, we're in pretty good shape with that as far as where I'm at. Just waiting now. And I will say this too, because I mentioned it before. It's true that you can do this on your own, like file with the VA and everything and go through this process. But uh, it's just so much more helpful if you have somebody who's working on your behalf that can talk to you about things and make sure that you're aware of what you're walking into and how to handle that situation, and follow up and everything else. And my guy in particular is really great because he retired out of the army as a first sergeant, like, so he did over 20 years, and then he worked for the VA as a raider. So he still has people in the VA. So with him, with my situation, is he can call his inside guys and be like, "Hey, can you check this guy out? Where are we now?" That's how we found out that they agreed I had the PTSD and that they were going. They sent it through at a 70% rating, and then he saw that. He saw that paperwork. But then I got a letter because some bureaucrat there denied it. So that's why I have to do the Nexus letter and everything else. So it's just a thing. Now, I will quickly say, too, it's all Marine Corps all the time right now. I wanted to get into other stuff, but I might as well just mention this. So yesterday was marked the 40th anniversary of me becoming a Marine. 15 November 1985, Paris Island, Platoon 2091. Uh, yeah, that was cool. And that's a proud moment. You never forget it. You earned it. You did things you didn't know you could do before. You pushed yourself. And you have all these shared memories with these guys, and it's very cool. So I did a little post on Facebook, and then yesterday I spoke with my buddy Yobes, laundry number 59. I was number 60. So Yobes is officially, uh, he's turning 59 this year, or he already has. So he's officially his laundry number now. That'll be next year for me. Next year I'll be 60. So, um, it was so great talking to him. We don't talk enough. I love him. I love him, man. He's just the memories that we have and what we went through. And like, he's one of those guys that really feels for me because he knows what happened to me. He was there. He was there in boot camp when I had a few injuries in boot camp. One of them was pretty significant, and how I kind of walked that off. And then infantry school, and I was tripping over myself and having issues. And he watched all that happen, and me getting into these fights and all this other crazy stuff and all the crazy shit that I was doing. He was there for a lot of it. And then we got stationed together, in Seal Beach. And then he saw that whole thing happen to me. So one of quite a few guys that I'm still in contact with, they know my story because they were there. So it's not like I'm making any of this up. I do want to say this too, real quick. I'll just give you a quick synopsis on it because I had some stupid comment. I know a lot of you are like, "Don't. Why are you letting these people bother you?" It's not bothering me. But if something's put out there that's incorrect, I want to correct the record. I want to be as truthful, honest. It's integrity, man. You know. If you're a Marine or and you're talking about life and you're talking about certain things, especially your service, you damn well better tell the truth. That's drilled into us as Marines, and mainly because other Marines, if they know you're lying, they're going to call your ass out on it. That's why you do it. Civilians, I don't care what you think. Don't care. You weren't there. You didn't do it. You didn't go through the same thing. Any of our other veterans that weren't there to see what I personally dealt with don't really care too much. Although I don't really get crap from other veterans. It's very rare. But there's assholes everywhere. What are you going to do? But just to quickly surmise my short time in the Corps, I was not kicked out of the Marine Corps. That didn't happen. I went to boot camp at Paris Island, South Carolina. As I said, I had a few injuries there, but then I went to Camp Pendleton for infantry school. And the reason that happened was when I enlisted, my scores, my ASVAB scores, were really interesting because I scored high, like across the board. My aptitude was pretty good for everything. And recruiters, they're trying to put people in certain billets. Like, they need people in certain jobs. They're trying to fill quotas for what the Marine Corps needs. And they first talked to me about being an officer and being a pilot. Of course, if I can invent a time machine and go back in time and slap the shit out of myself, go do that. I didn't like the idea of more school. I just come out of this whole rigid thing of the public school system. And I was living alone at 14 years old. Didn't want to do it. And at that time, again with the lip thing, at that time, one of these days I'll have a whole show with producers and hair and makeup people who would never let me do this in a robe. And I'll put chapstick on or something before I start the video. So, yeah, they wanted me to do that. I was, like all of us, we all wanted to be Rambo back then. And I have to talk about this because I started watching the new Netflix Marine series. I think it's 8 episodes, 6 or 8 episodes. I watched 3 of them last night. So we're going to talk about that too in a minute here. So I just wanted to go straight infantry. That's what I wanted to do because I was crazy. And I guess they needed people in this thing called security forces. And they sold it to me somehow. I can't remember everything that was said back then. It was a long time ago. Um, I didn't realize that it could be a good thing. And for a lot of people, it was a good thing. It's just that particular base at Seal Beach, a lot of crazy stuff went on there. And I'm not going to reiterate all this now. But things went on there that it's not normal. Shouldn't have happened. And that all starts from the top down. And look up Red Cell. Red Cell. Watch that documentary. Richard Marcinko. I did a video on him here. It's my highest number video. Watch that. Because that happened while I was there, after I got busted, and my life was being made miserable every day. Blah, 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 blah. And they set me up at a couple different times there. And then eventually it turned physical. And I warned them it was going to happen if they kept screwing with me, and that's what happened. And then I was able to kind of finagle this medical. I never felt good about that. Never. There's like shame on me because of it. But that's on me. That's not the court. The court didn't throw me out. I was a good Marine. There was just this set of circumstances that took place. And who knows? One day we'll sit here and we'll do an interview. This is going to happen anyhow in the future, where I'm sitting down with guys that were there and we're going to talk about it. And you guys are going to hear all about it. And this brings me to two things. So one is the Marine Corps thing on Netflix right now. I think it's fascinating to watch that. I think some of those guys just do sound a little dumb. I have to say, I hate saying that. But it's true. And I remember, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I know we didn't sound that dumb because while we were young and our brains weren't fully functioned, just like some of these young grunts, we had a much better vocabulary back then. I definitely knew guys that sounded like that back then, but I think our education system was better and we could articulate ourselves much better. I know I could. And so that's a little bit of a thing. The other thing that I think is a little odd, it's the truth. They're just telling the truth. Is they're talking to these young guys and they're just admitting that they want to kill people. That's all right. You can't say that to civilians, man. You just can't say that because it makes you sound like a crazy person. There's different ways to weigh that out. On one hand, it's good for our adversaries to hear that because that's a crazy thing. It's like, wait a second, they're in America where they've got, land of milk and honey. And even the poor people have cell phones and television sets. Like Will Rogers said, we'd be the first generation of Americans to go to the poorhouse in an automobile. I think he said that in the 1920s or something. Yeah, so to come from the United States of America and grow up with that mindset, and then there happens to be an outlet for it, which goes to a point I make all the time. You guys don't hear me doing it. This is a point that I make with other people. I'm talking to them, which is we'll call it 3%, right? They say 3% of the population fights, and they say that for the American Revolution. Only 3% of the population actually went out there and put their lives on the line for our country and our freedom. That's about right. And I think you probably globally have 3% of the population as human beings that are just born with that mindset, that warrior type of mindset, and want to have that experience. I believe in the reincarnation thing. So, another conspiracy theory somebody's going to goof on me about. We're going to get to that too if there's enough time. If time allows, we're going to get to that. So, that's just a fact. But you sound like a crazy person if you say it out loud. So you got to keep button it up a little bit. But again, the enemy is going to sit there and go, oh, wow, it's a volunteer force. We got the Marine Corps in particular where you could go. That's where your best shot to go if you want to have that experience. And that's what they want to do. Quick story about me with that. Here's the thing. A Marine wants to kill people. But he wants to do it righteously. You understand what I'm saying? He doesn't want to willy-nilly go out and just off people for no reason. He knows that there is evil in the world, that the masses are sheep, and there needs to be sheepdogs because there are wolves at the door. That's the reality of life. That's the reality of the world. History shows us that. You need to have rough and tumble, rough, tough Marines. You need to have guys that you are training to do that job, that have that mindset. That's what that's about. It's just odd that they're saying it like that because it makes them sound crazy. And I suspect Netflix is putting that out there on purpose like that. Marines are always being depicted in films as psycho, crazy people. I'm sure a bunch of you watching this right now are thinking of films where that's been depicted. And sure, here's the thing: there's a lot of psycho, crazy people that never even go in the military that exist. There's abusive people out there, men and women. You know, so that's a separate thing. We'll get to the nuance of some of that too when we talk about Ethan. Well, I'll bring it up real quick. Well, first, real quick about the killing thing. When I was in boot camp, we were in third phase. We're all going to be Marines at this point, and we are being fitted for our final uniform. We graduated in alphas, the green uniform. Back then, you had to buy your own dress blues. And I don't know what happened. I know, well, I can assume what. I mean, I was pretty. An incident took place while I was there with my father almost dying that turned a gear in my brain based upon how I was being talked to about that situation. And at that point, I kind of, my brain kind of separated out of the Marine mindset of the robot part of it, which you kind of get into being, you accept it, you become this thing to become a Marine. And I got detached from that. And at that moment, I kind of started screwing around a little bit for fun, which only made us all tougher. And my buddies didn't mind at all because I was making everybody laugh. But by making everybody laugh, I was a comedian in boot camp, man. I mean, crazy. Even my drill instructors were cracking up. But when that happened, I got thrashed hard, hard. And even though I had been injured, it didn't matter. Like, I was in such good shape, I could work through that at that time. You're young, you're pretty much invincible. And there were times when they thrashed me so hard, and I was moving so fast that they gave up. Okay, go back there. Because they could tell it didn't bother me. There was no, I was like, yeah, 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 let's go, yeah, yeah. It was just, you couldn't do anything to me anymore. You couldn't, there was nothing that could be said or done to me that would faze me in a negative way. I was just a crazed, I was ready, I was good to go. Let's go. And I remember we're getting fitted for uniforms, and my senior drill instructor had a problem with me that day. He's like, why did you join the Marine Corps? And my answer was, to kill people, sir. Sounds crazy. In that context, it shouldn't have been crazy at all. And he got mad at me for saying that. This is why I'm talking about this. He's like, oh, what do you mean you want to kill people? That's not, like, as if that's not the right thing to say. And then he brought me over to this first sergeant, this grizzly Vietnam vet, probably a Korean War vet too at that time. It was 85. Well, that wouldn't have been too far. It would have been 50 years. Definitely a Vietnam vet. And this guy's giving me this bullshit speech about, like, how, well, we're not supposed to be like, what the and the look on my face, I could tell. He's giving me a spiel. He's got other NCOs around him. And I'm looking at him with this look on my face like, yeah, he goes this whole thing. And I'm in my brain, I'm like, what? In my brain, as he's giving me this bullshit, I'm thinking, I've just spent months here learning how to be a Marine, Marine Corps history, all of that. And primarily, how to kill other human beings efficiently with everything. One mind, any weapon, violence of action, ripping people's throats out, thumbs through the eye sockets, how to stick a knife in the base of somebody's skull, you name it. All right. We didn't have jujitsu back then. We weren't subduing people. We were breaking arms, ripping out throats, and cracking skulls open. That was it, man. It was murder. That's what it was. And that was such a bizarre thing in my brain for them to be like, that's not why we're here. Like, that's stupid. That kind of fucked me up a little bit, to be perfectly honest with you. So now where they're saying it outright and they're being honest with it, which is the truth, it's such a weird thing for me personally. Anyhow, this transgender person I made friends with, Ethan, interesting situation. We're going to do a video interview. The comments under that video where I made a new friend are really funny. Some of you are really funny. Well, I don't get it. Like you 1 minute you're doing a conspiracy bullshit video, next thing you're open-minded. I don't understand you. Dude, you got problems, man. Like those of you who think that everybody, like you can put everybody in a box, you're the problem. Stop putting people in boxes. Everybody is diverse. I mean, there are some people that are monolithic, that's their life, robots. Those are the people who think we could be living in a matrix. You know how I know we're not in a matrix? I know because of my life. Because no 2 days are the same, man. I feel that way when I'm doing this job where every morning I get up, I take a piss, I take my mason jar out after I leave the bathroom. I go to the kitchen, I take my mason jar out, I put some cinnamon, some ginger, a couple scoops of instant coffee, big honking tablespoon of creatine, put some water in there. I get into the primal squat. I shake the thing over my head, tap the bottom, put it down, lay here, put the computer on, do my stuff on the computer, eventually get up, make something to eat, hop on the bike, ride to the shop, work all day, come home, get back on the computer, farting around, watch some movies or something, go to bed, wake up, repeat. If that's a routine, that's been a routine for a couple months now. But that's not normal for me, right? So this whole week was funny because every day is different. And that's how my life normally is. But those of you that get up and do that routine day in, day out, and have been doing it for decades, I can understand that that's your mindset. Here's the thing. I also poop in the morning, several times before I leave the house. Since I always give you TMI, there's some more, okay? So, yeah, I'm a pretty diverse individual. And on the conspiracy thing with the spraying, I went back to that video, and in the description box, I put links to a bunch of videos I shot over the last several years. It's not all of them, from my YouTube channel. And I think it's the first video. It's a short, and you can see the plane. You can see the line behind it, and it's like a line, then it stops. Then it's a line, then it stops. And you can actually see the plane shutting it off. You can't turn a contrail off. You can't turn a contrail off. But clearly, that guy's turning it on and turning it off. Zoomed in on it. You can see it. So, stop with this stuff. Like, it's so funny. Like, I have this one guy. I'm an Air Force pilot, and that's bullshit. You don't understand what you're talking about. There's different air currents and temperatures that create this stuff. And then he's like, oh, but if they're up there spraying, then it's a military operation. Oh, so you're admitting it's a military operation. Oh, interesting. Yeah. And that's why it would be so much higher than the commercial airlines, That's because now somebody's admitting it's not the commercial airlines leaving, because the commercial airlines you can see. I can see the flight path, and there's no trails behind them. On the days when higher, they're spraying in every direction, and they stay there to the point where they dissipate a little bit over time, and then the whole sky is white, which is blocking the sun's rays from hitting the earth. And on those days when they're spraying, you see those planes. You can see the plane leaving the trails. And then days later, there's no planes in the sky at all. And while they're doing it here, they're doing it everywhere else. Well, stop. And it's, oh, wait a second. Thousands of people can't keep a secret like that. What are you saying? We'd all know all about if that was true. Really? You ever hear of the Manhattan Project? Nobody talked about that. Nobody talks about what's going on in S4 or Area 51. We know from independent journalism, or Bob Lazar, who we now know a lot of what he was saying back in the 80s has been proven to be true. And look at his life. He's a genius, but they erased all his records in the colleges he went to. It's, if you're going to say we can't believe it because the truth would have came out, you're supporting the government now? Like, you think that the government's honest with us about anything? Did you see the Tucker Carlson thing that came out with the kid that shot Trump in the head, in the ear there? Like, totally groomed for it, and he explained how it works. This MK Ultra thing, this is real. You can look it up. Sirhan, same thing. Definitely a mind control situation there. Uh, Even with the Oswald thing, with the paperwork that came out on Oswald, we have a Marine officer sworn testimony that he was in the presence of Oswald while he was there when Oswald got recruited while he was stationed in Japan by the CIA. So stop. It's like what just happened. It's so funny to me. So the BBC came out, the Telegraph, which is another British paper, which is the BBC, I believe, is owned by the government there, which is bad. Government television is bad. And by the way, that's what we have here. You don't know that. You think it's independent, but the people that own these companies are in bed with the government. Like, a lot of them are literally related to them. So, yeah. Our mainstream media is basically has been Pravda, a large portion of it. So, especially the ones that get all these subsidies from the government, because their message is being controlled. So the Epstein files is a funny thing to me. So we had the government shutdown, and I mentioned this in a video a week or two ago, where I had said, look, the government shutdown is going to end after the election. Because the only purpose for it was to motivate their base so that they didn't lose in the blue states. This is all blue state stuff. So they just wanted to make sure they controlled those blue states. That's all that was about. And then what happens, all right? They didn't get anything. Government's back on. Democrats didn't get anything out of it. So to save face and distract you from that, new Epstein emails come out of a redacted name person trying to say Trump did something, but when you read it, there's nothing there. And then when you find out who the redacted person was, who she was mysteriously died, this woman, she wrote a whole book on it, which is why she was mysteriously deathed. She was Clinton. She says that Trump never did anything. It's totally in the clear. And who did the redacting? Because the emails already exist with her name in it. Like, we already know this. This is nothing new. This is some bullshit story they came out to get stupid people. And I know because in my comments, I do a video on the van or something, and there's some idiot in there going, what do you think now about the Epstein files? It's nothing. You just look dumber now that you typed that stupid comment, dummy. Wake up, man. Wake up. And Trump absolutely should be suing them for as much as he can, and he should, that if that means that it can't exist anymore, good, because they're lying. There's so many people that are basing their hatred for Trump upon lies, including that one, the January 6th thing. I just shared a video. Forgotten History, I think, is the guy's channel. He'd been both in the Army and the Marine Corps. And he does great expose videos. Mostly it's military history, but he's been getting political lately. So he's been doing exposés on corrupt politicians. Did one on Mitch McConnell. So he's done a lot even on Republicans. And it's amazing stuff. He just brings all the receipts. And he just did one on January 6th, which exposes everything, what was really going on that day. Because there was debates and hearings going on due to the fraudulent election. And they were proving it. And all this stuff happened at the same time that day to shut that down. And the true timeline of events of what Trump actually said, which is, I'm bringing this up because of the BBC report, where they took beginning of his speech and then like almost an hour later they took another part and they put those two together to make him sound like he said something that he never said. It's the same thing with the people that say he supported the Proud Boys and everything else. Never did. When you look in the full context of what he actually said, they take these things out of context, they put them together, dumb people believe it because they want to. They want to. It's tribal. It's your side. It's the side you want to believe. And you can just keep getting proven wrong time and time again. The Russia hoax is all fake. Everything's fake. if if they had something on Trump with Epstein, with the Epstein files, they had 4 years of total power and and the auto pen as president, where they could have buried him. They would have prevented him from winning the last election. They didn't use it then. What makes you think that this is real? You're not thinking. You're not thinking. Start thinking. You're making me crazy. So check it out. I finally got this band. I'm going to stitch this. This is something I've never done before. It's a snap. It's a snap. Real bulky on purpose because this is a bulky one. This is like a Doxa style case. It's an Artigo. It's a micro brand. They only made 250 of this watch. I haven't stitched it yet. I like it without the stitching, but I don't know that the glue will hold up on that cuff there, on this nice thick, it's 24 millimeter width all the way. So I've got this keeper, which I made snug on purpose, so it'll stay in place here. And then it's just a snap instead of a buckle. I'm probably going to do some stitching, but it's a smart thing to do stitching. I was going to do orange because of the orange on the hour hand, the minute hand. Pick that up, but I'm thinking maybe black because I like how this looks in black. That's tough, man. That's a cool thing. Anyhow, what else are we going to talk about? Well, let me bring up Ethan again real quick. For those of you who don't know, this new pal of mine, I just met this person because I bought a toolbox. And I told the story already, but I'll kind of get into it again. I go over to this person's house. Door opens. Little Asian person, Chinese turns out, with a beard and a little bit of a receding hairline, shirtless, pretty good shape. And okay, go in there, start talking about the box, and I'm looking, and I notice this scar around the nipples. And then I notice this big scar on the forearm here, and I know what that's about. People who go through that full surgery, women that want to become men, they take the skin from here to construct a penis. It's crazy. So I put all that together like that. And when I looked at him, her, whatever, it's him now, I guess. And because I also picked up an energy, I still pick up the feminine energy. That was the thing. The eyes. Something was going on in the eyes as he was looking at me. And I think initially it was, am I passing? I'm passing with this guy. I'm passing. Until I went, so were you actually born a man? It just came out of me. And Ethan says, oh, no. He goes, good sleuthing. You did some detective work there, huh? And we had this conversation. So I said, so you have the dick now? He goes, yeah. I said, can you get it hard? He goes, no. I just dropped it at that point. But in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the point of having a dead piece of meat hanging between your legs that you can't even use? It's crazy to me. But we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll have this conversation. But Ethan, when he was a woman, it was adopted as a Chinese kid, baby, and raised in Tennessee in a rural area by religious people, and went that route, was a lesbian her whole life, and then went to college and lived as a lesbian, and then got out, went in the Marine Corps. I believe he served under 4 years there. Something had happened. I think there was a medical thing. And turns out Ethan he's got 100% disabilities. That's pretty much what he's living on. And he actually helps other veterans with their medical, what I'm going through. And he's already brought up a couple good points that I think will be helpful for me too. So just bizarre the way that stuff works out. And so we've been texting. He's jazzed, wants to do it. I reached out yesterday, but he didn't get back to me in time. So hopefully this week. This is going to be an interesting conversation. And it's going to be fun and funny. I'm going to make fun of Ethan a little bit. And it's the thrust of it's going to be too. It's like you can't puss out on me, man, because you're not a woman anymore. You're a man now. You got to be able to take this shit. I'm going to be drilling that shit out. But it's going to be fun because I'm innocent about it. I'm totally innocent about it. I just want to know the thought process, what the life was like, what he went through. And I want to point out to you guys, so I got some negative comments there where you think there's something wrong with me. And this is like putting people in a box kind of thing again, right? This individual, as an adult, made this choice as a grown-up. I don't know how old Ethan is. Probably, I'm guessing 30s. So spent his own money, saved his own money, did it himself, all of that. That's different. That's not the trannies, the transvestites that most of them never get a surgery, but dress like they do woman face, like blackface. They do a caricature of women with the crazy makeup and the hair and all flamboyant and obnoxious and everything else and putting that out there into the world. That's not this dude. It's not the same thing. And I know a woman who doesn't know that I know on Facebook who was a man, born a man, but lives as a woman, pretty hot, modeled as a woman. I believe even was involved in the film industry, adult film industry, and passed as a woman. Who's not, who happens, actually happens to be very conservative, by the way. But the brain is the brain of a man. I pick on her from time to time, but she doesn't know that I know. Like, oh, you think just like a man. I throw these little things out there because she's not putting that out there. But again, same situation. Not this flamboyant, ridiculous, obnoxious person. Not pushing it on children, that sort of thing. And that'll probably come up in the discussion with Ethan when we do that video as well. I don't get the vibe that he's like that at all. So, just because I'm kind to another human being doesn't mean I condone their life choices. But at the same time, that's a stupid way to put it by me, because it's not my job to judge anybody else. A lot of you are religious and you forget what the Bible says about, that thou shalt not judge. So, people are going to do what they're going to. God doesn't make mistakes, people say to me. Okay, I don't think God has anything to do with this. We have free will. That's from God. So what does that mean? That means you can do whatever you want with your body. You're the one judging, and you're not supposed to be judging. So knock that shit off. Again, though, if they're trying to influence young people, that's a thing. And back to this Epstein thing real quick, because I have to bring this up. I don't like the terminology that people are using. I don't like the terminology on the right calling everybody a pedophile that was involved with this, because they're not. I don't support what went on, obviously. A pedophile is somebody that is attracted to young children. Like little kids, babies, things like that. That's a pedophile. These women that were engaged down there and taken advantage of by Epstein and Maxwell and cajoled into doing all these acts and everything else. I think the youngest, as far as I know, was 16, maybe 15. I don't know. As far as I know, 16 might have been the youngest. Most of them were like 16, 17, from what I understand. If you know other than that, let me know. Yes, legally, according to our laws, you're not an adult till you're 18. I get that. But 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, all the way up to like 27, 28 years old, your brain, your frontal lobe isn't even fucking developed yet, man. You're all stupid. You're all susceptible to being dumb things. That 18 age range is there to protect you in case somebody does take advantage of you. I get it. But let me tell you something. 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, right? Last week. It's this whole year. Well, 250 years ago, people were getting married at 12 years old, 13 years old. Married! I'm just saying. Doesn't condone what they did with these women. The difference is what this is really about with the Epstein thing. It has nothing to do. I mean, it's not good for those girls. I want those women to get what's coming to them in a positive way, whether it's a financial thing or whatever. And if nothing else, just the truth. Let's give them some self-respect and allow them to gain that back, their lives back, by the truth coming out of how they were pulled into it, recruited, how they were manipulated, mentally messed with to do the things that they did with all of these rich and famous people. Absolutely 100% want that to come out. But stop calling them pedos. I think a lot of these guys probably are pedos. Shit, a lot of them are probably drinking adrenochrome-filled blood, from who the hell knows what's going on. Like they're demons in caves dancing around a pentagram. And you know what I'm saying? Like some of that shit probably going on, man. It's probably happening. I don't know. Never been invited to it. Kind of been around it. Was kind of around it in the 90s. I got to tell you, I always left those parties because I felt uncomfortable. crazy stuff going on. So there's a difference, and we have to get back to using language appropriately. All right. If somebody uses a racial slur against another person, that's not racist. That's bigotry. I've said this. I've been saying this for years. It really aggravates me. A racist is somebody that believes that they're superior, that they because the race they are and the way they think they're superior to, which means you could be a black racist. You could be an Indian racist. You know what I'm saying? You be a Chinese racist. Yeah, you have to be. It's not like white people are racist and nobody else is. That's stupid. But most people aren't racist at all. But they could be bigots. 100%. 100%. There's a difference. It's the same thing with the using the word pedo or pedophile. I'm just saying we need to get accurate about this and we need to discuss it openly. A lot of the stuff, the jokes I'll be doing on this stuff is going to be about this. I mean, I texted Ethan the other day. I'm like, man, the comedy that's coming in my brain right now, and it's sick ideas that pop that I think are funny to say. They're going to be outrageous. So I love meeting somebody like this, and it enriches my life because I'm talking to the person. Most of you out there don't know anybody like that, or never going to meet anybody like that. You're basing whatever you think on little videos you see, or the way the news puts it, or whatever. You're about to meet somebody who made all these choices, and you're going to see it's actually a good person and a smart, articulate person who's still making oddball life choices that you'll find out about soon enough. All right. Yeah, so the whole Trump thing with the Epstein, there's nothing to that, as we know. And again, I just wanted to point out that, like, they weren't little children. Every time I hear somebody go, children, they were doing this to children. Look, a 16-year-old girl these days, you can't tell the difference. I talked about Fast Times at Ridgemont High last week, and beginning of the movie, the girls are working together in the mall, the food court. 15-year-old girl waits on a guy. He tells her she's 27. She lies about her age, says that she's 19. He takes her to the point, which is the bench in a dugout at a baseball field. I had that experience too. Not 27 having sex with a 15-year-old. But I'm just saying, young people, women in particular, you don't know how old they are. You know what I'm saying? So, like, at that age, they could pass for up to 20 years old or more. Some more. Depends. We had a girl in 8th grade, 7th grade. Well, 5th or 6th grade, she already had cans on her, man. And by the time she was in 8th grade, I got pictures, from school back then. I mean, she looked like she was in her mid-20s. Just the way her face was and everything. She could have lied about anything. So it's different, is all I'm saying. Once you get to that range of you're 15 and above, especially 16, 17, in that age range, you're definitely no longer 12. You're definitely no longer a baby to 12 years old. That whole range. There's a huge difference there. By the way, Ricky Schroeder did a film, a true story about a 12-year-old guy who was in the Navy. Like, he enlisted at 12 and saw combat in World War II. When they found out how old he was, they sent him home. There's another guy in the Marine Corps that went in at 14 years old. All right, fought, did it. They found out how old he was, they sent him home. So, there's been young people documented doing things that adults should be doing. It's a thing, man. It's a thing. So stop with the outrage, and just all I want us to do is get the language correct, because we're doing, even the side you think that you're on is doing a disservice to your own people by not articulating this accurately. It's not about the girls. Again, the girls need to be vindicated, taken care of, all that. What it's about is what it was about, which was Epstein being an agent, likely working together with our CIA, likely a Mossad guy, and the fact that they were using people's sexual deviancy, baiting them with that, which just shows you how weak those guys are, how weak they are. You can't control your sexual urges? Like to the point you're a powerful, rich and powerful person, and you're going to go to some island someplace and have sex with really young girls and with other people around. Like you're not thinking like, oh, you're thinking everybody's my friend here. Oh, this is great. Look how great. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? What the hell's wrong with you? I never would have gotten caught up in that. As much as all the fucking I did in my life, and as much as I like sex and having it, I never would have went to that thing. I know that because here I didn't participate in that. In the 90s, I had plenty of friends, and they had these orgy parties, or these orgies would break out. I never participated in an orgy. I've had sex with a few people at the same time, different times, but never some big party thing like that where there's a bunch of people around that I don't know. I never would have felt comfortable with that because I don't know what else is going on. My brain is thinking that way all the time, and I'm nobody. Just some dude. I'm certainly not some rich and famous, powerful person or a politician or a former president. What a bunch of dummies. What a bunch of dummies. And that's what's going on. That's what this is about. That's why it's on the slow roll. That's what that's about. It's about that power thing and outing this program. That's all that is. Some people think that is it Kanye? Diddy, right? I get that. I up until Diddy went to prison, I didn't know there was a difference between him and Kanye. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't follow this crap because I don't care. But likely that's what was going on with his parties. Same situation, right? You are, and then with him, there was some, seems like there was some, I mean, Justin Bieber was a pretty young kid there when that was going on, you know? So, yeah, there's some sick and perverted individuals that are rich and powerful. And, but it does seem like most of them are Democrats. I'm just saying, you can't deny that one. But Trump's never been, none of that's ever been proven with him. And when the truth comes out, the people who are involved always say, no, that never happened. This is a guy that never drank, doesn't do any drugs, sleeps 4 hours a night, does nothing but work all the time. He did it as a civilian, he's doing it as president. He does not even fit the profile. So stop with the nonsense. You know, this is not me like loving Orange Man and everything. It's just looking at things matter of factly. So stop. Let me see what I left out because I know we're coming up on an hour here pretty soon. Oh, okay. Gavin Newsom. That's all I have to say. But he's been in South America with this climate change stuff. And I put a video out showing the gas prices here in Los Angeles that are almost $6 an hour. They're over $5 an hour, a gallon. And apparently he's buying oil from different countries. Like, we have oil here. We have oil here. And a bunch of refineries. The man is a corrupt fool. He's part of like 4 families have been running this state for over 80 years. The whole thing is corrupt. The whole thing with Nancy Pelosi. There's actual, Ethan's an investor. We were talking about it. There's actually these things. I forget what it's called, but it's like you can see all the trades that Pelosi does and do the same trades. And if you would have been doing that, you'd be wealthy yourself. They're all corrupt liars. And they're scamming us. And that was the great thing about Doge coming along and blowing the doors off of USAID and showing the slush funds that are out there and where the money really goes and everything else. It's a wonderful time to be around. There's this reset that's happening. You might not like it because your particular team is losing. Get off the fucking team, man. Stop trying to be part of a team. Just look for truth. Just look for the truth and support the truth. You know, question your own beliefs regularly. I've been doing that my whole life. So the Gavin Newsom thing, I just had to bring that up. Why is he in another country talking about that? He's a governor of a state. He's not the president. He's not going to become the president. There's just no, unless there's another fake election. Watch the video. I'll put it in the description. I will put a link to the Forgotten History video I was just talking about on January 6th. You got to watch that. And this last thing here with the ACA, also known as, AKA, Obamacare. Listen, Obamacare has nothing to do with health care. Again, with the words, we're being lied to. Obamacare enriched insurance companies. It uses government money to subsidize insurance companies so that lower income people can afford insurance. Lower income people cannot afford insurance. They still don't have insurance. Um, it was for middle class people, lower and middle class people, to afford some sort of insurance. Poor people still get taken care of when you go to the hospital. So, I mean, not like major surgeries and whatnot. Like, that's what happened to my dad at one point. They put him in a basement of a hospital till he died. And thank God he had the presence of mind to not swallow the pills for a few days. So he was lucid enough to call me. And then I made a call. Just so I happen to know about a heart specialty place that flew a helicopter there and picked him up and brought him there. Did experimental surgery on him for free, no cost to any of us. Um, and it gave him another 5 years of life. And he'd still be alive today if it wasn't for the stress that my own family put on him. So I'm just saying, look, they want to pass this thing to continue to subsidize insurance companies. And they want to give this to people and allow all this free stuff to happen for all the people that they're bringing into the country so that they can, into blue states and cities, so they can count them as population so that the left can still have power in Washington. That's all this is about. So, uh, you want health care? Here's what we do. Here's what we do. To me, it seems like a simple thing. Federal ID cards for all American citizens. We know who you are, and maybe they're color coded, let's say. I'm just spitballing here. Let's say they're color coded for like your income level, which also, depending upon, like, if you're married, you got dependents, kids, and everything else. It's going to put you in a different color code category. And with that card, not only could you go to any hospital and it goes in, because everything's going to be AI here pretty soon, right? It's going to go in there and we're going to know who you are. They'll know what your income level is. They'll be like, oh, okay, we could just take care of this guy. And it's not going to cost you anything. You don't need insurance. We don't need insurance. Has nothing to do with healthcare. You're going to say, well, how do we pay the people doing all this? Well, that's where the government money should go. Instead of subsidizing the insurance companies, give the money to the states to give to the hospitals so that they can care for people and the people working at the hospitals still get paid. Don't you think that would be smarter? Ding, da, ding, ding, ding. Somebody's going to friggin' shoot me. I am not suicidal. I'm just telling you right now. Like, what's so hard about that? I don't understand. Explain it to me. Like, that's all you got to do. Very simple. And you're going to say, well, what about the people who are here illegally and they're sick, and should we just let them die on the streets or send them home sick? No, no, no. I mean, we could take care of them, but when they go into the system and they don't have that federal ID card, ding, it's going to ring and they're going to get checked out. And if they're here illegally, then something's going to be dealt with that. Like, what's happening now is they're pushing the self-deportation and people registering themselves and everything else because it'll make it easier for them to come back in. That's a pretty good thing. But if it comes up and turns out you're also a criminal, like they check your fingerprints and everything, and it turns out you've been convicted of or wanted for crime, well, then that's going to be a problem for you. You probably shouldn't have done that. You should be responsible for your own actions. You know, So that's what needs to happen. The government needs to give the money to the hospitals, and boom. And I also think like there could be a program like if you go to medical school, maybe we could do a thing where medical school, or maybe there's a percentage of medical students because some people can afford medical school. They come from wealthy families and that sort of thing. And by the way, you can still have insurance for those people because there's going to be different levels of medical care still, right? Like if you want to pay for insurance and you can afford it, you go to a better hospital, fine. There would have to be a thing where so many hospitals in a state or so many hospitals in near to larger populations have to be part of the public system. You'd have to set all that up. But there could be a situation where people who are smart enough to go to medical school, but yet it would be a real burden for them to pay for that. Maybe they could go to school on a stipend situation. What's the other word? Like a scholarship type thing where they've got to put X amount of years working at the public hospital, right? Before they could go to the private hospital and then make more money down the road. But it wouldn't be 20 years, it'd be like 5 years, something like that. Hey, your school's paid for, boom. And what that would do is you'd have a constant influx of new talented people coming out of medical school with the latest technology and latest education on health. So you constantly have this young thing coming in, and then they would cycle out to go to places where or they could stay there. They're still going to get paid. And there could be a whole other thing set up where if you, maybe the hospital likes you and they work something out with you and they want you to sign a contract with them to stay at that hospital, they could probably work that to where you can get paid more, right? You're still going to get paid and paid well, but obviously not as much as the private sector. So but that all can be worked out. Those are just conversations and common sense, but you got to get those greedy bastards out of it. That's all. And all that's coming out now. So I don't know. I see what's happening as positive stuff. And I know I've ruffled some feathers here, like I always do, but I don't care. I'm Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. Don't care what you think of me, man. Anyhow, looks like the sun might break. It's still pretty cloudy out there. It's supposed to rain again tomorrow. I'm chomping at the bit, man, to get back to work. I got to get this. I'm close. The wall hung cabinet parts are cut. I just got to do the joinery and put them together and get the shelves in there. And then I got to make the doors for that. I got to make the drawer. That's an easy thing. I do have to mill some wood for that, but it's already partially done for the drawer and that one center cabinet. I'm going to make one little tiny thing, which is easy. And then the rest is just sanding out and then starting to apply finish. So, but if I lose time, the reason I can't work when it's raining is I have this garage workspace that's open air. I can't work in it with the door closed and everything. And I think the roof's leaking. So I pushed everything off to the side. So we'll find out tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty certain nothing got rained on. But if it did, that's a thing, because it'll mess with my project. But it's repairable. It's nothing like it won't ruin it. It's solid wood. It's not like it's plywood or particle board or MDF. I don't work in that crap for that reason. I do heirloom quality stuff. So I got to get that done because I need to get that installed to make some money. And I got to get on to the next thing. And I've been talking to my next client this guy is so cool. He's making me all kinds of crazy offers too, and it's possible too that he might even end up buying that house in Arizona. He's like, you need a cash buyer. I could be your guy. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm not rushing to that. I really want to wait until everything gets settled with the VA stuff. I had a little prayer, a little conversation with God. I was like, if I end up getting 100%, then I'll work something out. Maybe I won't sell that house. Maybe I'll, so there's a whole other thing going on in my brain, but I don't need to get all into that right now. But he wants me to do some big projects at his place, and he's so funny. Because it started with this wall of art that he wants me to do, like a library wall. And he wants some furniture, but he wants a new front door. And I was thinking in terms of building a door that would fit in his existing opening, which is not an easy thing for a lot of guys to do. I've done it. I can do it. I can make it perfect. It would fit right in that same jam. He's like, no. We could do something else. We could rip that whole jam out. I don't mind. We can get a contractor over here and redo this and do the stucco. I don't care. And he's like, can we do a pivot door? So no hinges. I'm like, I've never done that before, but obviously I can do it. It's like, can we do mahogany, like solid mahogany? I'm like, yeah, we could do that. Just so you guys know, the only limitations here are my imagination and the size of your wallet. That's what it boils down to every single time. And while I have had affluent clients in the past, obviously, those people are few and far between. They're great when they come along because it's like, I want this, I want that. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be $50,000. They're like, okay. I'm like, oh, great. Fantastic. But some people, most of the time, they don't have that kind of money. So I'm always like, here's what I want. Like, okay, well, for me to do that, I think it's going to be around that. And they're like, oh, I don't know. Then I have to usually work it back a little bit to come up to a price that they can still afford. And I'm pretty good at doing that. But what that has done to me is it's put me in this mindset where that's my mindset all the time, is cutting back, refraining myself. Like this project I'm doing now, I did not ask for enough money. That's fine. And he knows that and he's cool. I just like the guy. I can't help it. I'm a bit of a sucker. So, but it's cool. But I am doing extra little things because I can't help myself. And so it's hard to estimate what it's really going to cost because the time becomes the factor. I was saying about the open air shop again. If that door is open, if it's raining, it collects, and you can't work like that. I can't work in the rain. Plus, all the extra moisture in the air with naked wood's not good. I cover everything up so it's not absorbing the moisture in the air. So that's the problem with that. But back to what's going on here with money. If everybody who came to me was wealthy, I could arbitrarily put a number on something and still just hope I'm covering the time and materials and everything. Because when this guy says, and Fred, I know you're watching, you're so cool. I got a present for you, man. I got something for you. I said to him, I saw a pivot door. Okay, so I've been thinking about that because I got some really cool ideas. Because there's hardware a pivot door means it's either a rod or two pins on either end that are fixed in like a bracket thing, and it's balanced. So you just push that door and it pivots on that point. It's not hinges on a jamb. It's a different sort of system. And I explained to him, I said, well, I could do that, but for me to do that, I have to charge you for the time it takes me to figure out how to do that, like R&D. So I'd have to make up a door, which would just be 2x4s with plywood on either side of it to the appropriate thickness. I'd mill all that down. So I could actually make it and play with that pivot and decide how I want to do it correct. Now, he lives in this nice place. It has a Spanish villa vibe, so I'm seeing it in my brain. So I'm thinking maybe on the inside we could do exposed hardware pivot, like a full wrought iron steel bar with big brackets that are bolted to the door that looks like wrought iron bolts. And I know a guy that can make that stuff. I can make those parts actually. Even Dave could do that part. But I know a guy up in Monterey that works in bronze, and I want to put a cage on the front with one of those windows that open with like a two-way mirror. So somebody looking in, they see their own face, which is going to make them look at their own face. So you see who it is before you open that door, and you're protected with this beautifully, it looks like wrought iron, but it's going to be bronze and with mahogany. This thing is going to. But you know what this is going to cost? This ain't gonna be a cheap thing, man. So, yeah, it's just a funny thing. I'm excited about it. It's fun to have that. And for those of you that don't know, multiple times in my career here, I've found a client that then keeps me busy for a long time. I've had a client that's kept me busy for almost 8 years straight. I've had clients that kept me for 5 years. 3 years. I recently did a client that was 2.5 years, or I was just doing work for that one person. So I don't know that that's going to happen with Fred. It could. It would, just with the stuff that he already wants. Fred, it's a good thing we like each other, because this could be a year of work already, man. If just signing on to do this, maybe more. It's ridiculous. And I'm getting old, man. So yeah, I got to think about this. I'm only one guy. I have to do one thing. You let me focus on one thing, get it done. Like that's a little bit of the issue with what I'm doing now. It's really like 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like 4 projects here that I'm doing all at once. Because there's the vanity, there's the door I already did, there's the floating cabinet that I'm doing, the floating shelves, plus the other little things. So it's not just one project. It's a bunch of things I'm doing at once, and then I'm going to deliver everything and spend 2 to 3 days probably installing all that stuff. So that's what's happening with me. Now you know everything. I was never kicked out of the Marine Corps. You know that whole thing. You know what's happening with Ethan. You know what's happening with work. You know what I think about everything else here that I talked about. And you understand the mindset of Marines. It's crazy, but you thank your lucky stars that they're there. Thank a Marine sometime. That's it. Have a good day. Be kind to one another. I'll catch you in the next one. Maybe next time I'll actually put clothes on for you.